All right, you need to pull me off the heating grate a little bit earlier.
We've had some adjustments.
My box is not even turned on
dear.
yet. Chris gently lifts me like a kitten by the scruff of the neck.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, I'm mostly here. I'm here. This is where I fall asleep.
And like a mama kitten, I grab you by the teeth,
Right.
by the scruff of your neck.
A little mic clink on your head.
Right. Okay. All right, so Carl Frisch tomorrow.
Yes.
I thought we had him here, but we have Dean Obadala instead in hour number 2.
Right.
Travis is here, and Nathan has been replaced by some other man that I've never seen before. No, it's Tony, everybody. Nathan hasn't.
It hasn't booted up yet? There
No,
it
it's
goes.
fine.
Okay.
Whew, my box wasn't working yet. What's happening?
It's because I have a droopy heart.
I know. Okay, Chris had a physical yesterday.
Like top to bottom.
You
Top to bottom.
Literally.
And all I cared about, I didn't say, "Oh, are you okay?" I said, "Oh, do I need to start interviewing?"
Yeah. Apparently my heart droops to the left.
Oh,
It has a sad.
like a good liberal. Like a good liberal.
It has a sad.
You have a liberal heart.
Your heart's a sad panda.
Yeah. And I said, do I need to be concerned? And he said, no, that's just the way you're shaped.
I have some weird thing with my heart too. I didn't want to really listen to what it was last time. I was like, what? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, right?
Something. I don't know. Something.
Is this something you need to, like,
Probably.
all this exercise might be straining it, maybe, kind of thing?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
You?
Yeah, no, I mean, if Stephanie Miller of the Stephanie Miller Show dies,
We won't
Tony's
tell
the production
anyone.
guy.
It's like
How
weekend
is
at Steffi's.
How hard is it to just slip John Fugelsang in there? Not hard.
not hard, but he's in New York.
Whatever.
We're just gonna.
You'll work out the logistics.
We'll just put you over there face down until she's
Oh,
drunk.
there's a story. They do a listing every year of how much all the dead celebrities made.
Uh-huh.
Michael Jackson is number 1, and you know the guy that owns the show that's trying to kill me for life insurance money.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like debtor's prison for all y'all. No matter after I go.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh.
We're gonna owe the money?
Well, you're gonna have to work it off. He's gonna do hologram. Stephanie, in time for Halloween might be
I don't
good.
think you can afford holograms, Stephanie.
There's gonna be hologram sexy liberal tour again, where I'll just like float above the crowd. I think this whole show, I might be a hologram now. Who can say with my rusty ticker?
No, I've seen your wine bill. You're not a hologram. Holograms don't drink wine.
All right. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You better spitball on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You'll sell old, you'll repurpose old happy hours. Remember how filthy she was? Okay.
We'll just cut them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, for instance, by the way, we were saying the other day, because I was saying I need this, which is maybe good for me, your droopy heart, because
Right.
I was saying I need to get all new people that don't know me that well and have, inconvenient stories about me.
Right.
By the way, May Lee will have a lot of inconvenient
Today.
stories about me. Right.
Well, we're
gonna-
recording today.
We're going to tape the happy hour with Jim Ward and May Lee today.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be available as usual, right? Audio Friday night, video
Saturday.
right? Right. I need to kill her too because she knows too much.
Well, you get
and
chatty.
she's too chatty.
You get chatty with everybody. That's how everybody knows your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't keep secrets.
You don't
from
have a
May.
filter.
No, I do not.
I'm designating driving May so that she can
Right.
get to and from here safely.
Yeah, and I don't really remember the story, so I can't really refute them. I mean, I can. I just call her a lying whore, but I don't really know for sure if she is.
Well, you tell her these stories when you're drunk, and so you don't
It was
remember.
years ago.
When you were drunk,
All
then,
right. Well,
past tense.
the point is,
Stephanie's drunk history.
New Comedy Central spinoff.
I'm just gonna tell you stories from my past when I was drinking. Does not remember. Pontilla Brothers.
she tells
Pontilla Brothers. Did they sell wine at Chianti and those?
No, I
There's
don't.
this cop in the valley.
Okay. My point is that
You didn't have to share that cop story.
I know. Listen. You have 3 hours a day of airtime to fill. It is amazing what you'll learn. This is why I can never run for anything. You know why?
Why?
Because of people like friggin' David from San Francisco.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how I don't know how I blurted out at some point. Not only have I blurted out that I need to tickle my butt to pee.
Right. You did that early on. I learned that in the 90s.
I have shy pee syndrome. Okay, and so because I'm a leading environmentalist, I mentioned that I pee in the shower.
I call BS on that because you pee on people in the shower.
Not always.
That's
not if there's
different.
someone there.
You did a demo the other day for us.
Oh, it started as a joke. It's like marking your territory and you're saving water. Okay. Anyway,
And
the
you
point
de-
is,
and you-
it saves water. And it's not. It's sanitary. It goes. Okay. David in San Francisco, guys, yes, I'm one of those who saves clips from your old shows. It's because of you bastards that I can't ever be president.
That's why we can't have
is
nice
ever
things.
dead on the
And we
internet.
can't just disappear all this out into the cornfield.
There's a podcast somewhere with it on
Wouldn't
it.
that be great if I could just go scrub the internet?
Scrub my history.
And you could just start all new.
You don't have enough money to scrub all that
Wouldn't
out.
that be magic?
Clear my cache.
Clear the cache.
There's not enough bleach in the world to clean the internet of your history.
Right? When you get a new boyfriend, let me just clear out everything that was in my cache.
That's when you just re-image your entire computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, yes, I'm one of those who saves clips from your old shows. I just happen to have the clip that started this meme. It was a headline stating Kelly Clarkson pees in the shower on the March 3rd, 2009 show. What are the
This
chances
was before
someone
you.
has the March?
I know. I love that they nailed it down to the day.
Here, Stephanie subtly admits. Subtly? I did something subtly?
No, you didn't. You
Was that
weren't
back
subtle.
when I did subtlety?
You
2009?
never have done subtlety.
Yeah, that wasn't. I listened to the show back then. You were not subtle.
Subtly admits that she pees in the shower, much to Chris's disgust. Chris's disgust has been a constant. There's so few constants in life.
Oh, just because I can't believe some of the things you do.
It's a constant theme of the Stephanie Miller Show.
I don't. Listen. Anyway, David helpfully has supplied us with this clip. Here we go. And finally, oh boy, this is more a story about the state of journalism these days. The headline is Kelly Clarkson pees in the shower. That's the state of entertainment journalism.
A, why did she feel like reporting that? And B, why did someone report on it?
And why do I feel the need to report on the report?
Yeah.
In a new interview, the American Idol winner admits to both peeing in the shower and checking the tissue to see what color her boogers are.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
That.
Well, you got to check and see if you have a sinus infection.
Yeah.
Sure.
I get that.
She said anybody who says they don't pee in the shower is lying, which actually that's true. That's
Computer
I
says
actually
yeah.
haven't.
I've never peed in that.
No.
perhaps I've said too much again.
Oh, Stephanie!
It's kind of like Paul Lynn. There's a lot of Chardonnay running through me that's got to, you know.
Do you take a dump in the sink? What the?
That's not okay. What's wrong with you today? Okay, we have Simon on this. Okay.
Oh, thank God. I couldn't possibly have lived another second without knowing the exact shape, colour, and consistency of Kelly Clarkson's boogers. Or that she urinates in the shower. Oh, to have been her college flatmate. Yippee. I suppose now we'll be hearing about the frequency and intensity of her periods and be forced to endure high-def digital photos of her latest bikini wax. Hello, Brittany. Yet another magna cum laude graduate of the trailer park is stealing your act. Honestly, do we really want to know absolutely everything about these low-rent losers who I personally elevated to the level of cultural icons among the NASCAR set? Do we really need a Sanjaya sex tape? Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Now I've thrown up on the floor. A lot. Now I can't see the stuff. I suppose I could blame the mess on Paula. Wouldn't be the first time. I mean, really, if you're that keen on oversharing, why not bring the camera in for a closer? Here, have a look at my hemorrhoids. Have a look. You happy now, America? I'm just being honest. A bit too honest, don't you agree?
Yes, I agree. You know, that's the second time a menstrual cycle
I
has
know.
appeared
That's weird.
on
I
the
don't know why
program
that is.
today.
Sure,
Well, you
way
sent me
to-
the bits of the stories. I mean, it's just...
way to start the show over. That's all for stand-up news. I'm here all week. Tell your friends. Oh, dear. Wait till next hour when we'll hear the God having sex in heaven bit again. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all Jim Ward's fault. And he has a little website. and
Jim
it's,
Ward's pocketful but
Yeah,
true.
and it's on the
Banner ad.
StephanieMiller.com.
Jim at StephanieMiller.com.
More importantly,
Stephanie Miller.
we'll be on CNN this Sunday. Don't forget on
Oh, yeah,
That's
all right.
good enough. That's
You will not
wow.
be on CNN.
Back when Jim Ward and menstrual periods were still appearing regularly on this
Yeah.
Jim Ward still shows up from time to time.
show. Yes, he does. He will be on the happy hour today, and we will
And
see
he
him
was
on
pushing.
Monday.
He was pushing product then.
Yes, apparently. That's back when Jim did work. He used to write beds. He had a website.
Yeah.
I miss Simon Cowell on the show.
Me too. All right. By the by, Elvira going to be on the Halloween happy hour podcast.
That's right.
Very exciting.
Very good
Did we say
news.
it yesterday? Guess what's going to be all the rage? Ebola costumes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, the same company that just started selling the Ebola costumes are little toddler ISIS outfits. Because we're screwed. Our country is, we just got wrong. It's what exactly.
Are they going to carry around little baby dolls with the heads off of them?
Oh, Travis.
Well, I mean, really, that's wrong after you dress your kid up like ISIS. That's the wrong.
Well, see,
I
there's a
do not
line.
know. No, actually, that's a fair question. Is do you get a little, detached
like a
head?
Cabbage Patch
Yeah,
doll with the
yeah.
head cut
It is.
off.
That's how wrong this country is. This is why the happy hour is so wildly popular, because of how wrong this country is.
Baby, you can have a
Right.
prop.
All right.
It's like the accessories that they sell.
I
Like
can't believe you blamed the toddler ISIS costumes on Travis. He didn't think of it.
No,
he just made it worse.
That's
what we do here on the Stephanie Miller Show.
they try to upgrade everything with those costumes. It's like you buy the Captain America suit, you got to buy the Shield extra. It's not they don't come together.
Why not? That's part of the costume.
But that's how they get you. So when you dress your baby up as toddler ISIS,
Right.
you got to buy the headless doll.
Well, then you get a trash can top and paint whatever on it.
I think it's best that we break now.
I'm from Fresno, but I'm not that bad.
This is what comes of having nothing to do in Fresno.
Yes.
This is the kind of mind that one develops. All right, so lots to get to. We have Dean Abadal coming up. Jackie Scheckner live in hour number 3. She cannot wait to talk about that Rick Scott pushed out of the debate because there was a small fan underneath Charlie Crist's podium,
I love
and he
that
just
story.
didn't show up.
Yeah. Well, they had to like stretch for 7 minutes while
While he got over his hissy?
Yeah, exactly.
When he stopped spinning on his back?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then they got on with the debate. But all anybody can talk about after the debate was the fan. It was like the tantrum.
What a big he is.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And he has eyelids like like the alien in V something. He has those Cindy McCain eyes that don't seem to blink.
Right. He blinks, but it's not this way. It's this way.
Right. Right. That's my point. Okay. Thank you.
He unhinges jaw.
I think that was your impression of my naughty bits yesterday. Anyway, let's not talk about that now. 18 minutes. 18 minutes after the hour, this hour of the Stephanie Miller Show, brought to you by GoToMeeting. Yes, we prepared all of that in advance at a GoToMeeting. Trying to keep up with your work when you're constantly out of the office, this can seem impossible, right?
Yeah.
Millions of professionals and also unprofessional people like us use Citrix GoToMeeting. It is the awesome. You can meet with clients, coworkers, even new prospects without having to leave your desk, saving you time so you can get more work done. With GoToMeeting, you can meet with anyone from any computer, tablet, or smartphone, and you all talk face-to-face in HD video conferencing, and you can see the same screen at the same time.
That's amazing.
Right? You
Love
can
that.
PowerPoint, edit a document together, whatever you need to do. GoToMeeting allows you to work smarter, more efficiently, take more control of your time and resources. None of that icky travel.
Ew. Grody.
Especially now, am I right? Okay, that's why we recommend GoToMeeting. We want you to try it today. Don't wait. Get started. Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com. Click on that Try It Free button. That's GoToMeeting.com for your free 30-day trial. 19 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 24 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-1-2. The phone number toll free from anywhere. Dean Obadala, comedian extraordinaire at the top of the hour. Jackie Scheckner live in studio. Hour number 3. This hour of the Stephanie Miller Show brought to you by Citrix GoToMeeting, the proven solution for meeting and collaborating with your team online from anywhere. Visit GoToMeeting.com. Click on the Try It Free button for your free 30-day trial. All right, now it's 24 minutes after the hour.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Are you okay?
All right, I'm fine.
All right.
Nobody help me.
How's your soup?
It's good, thanks. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. All right. By the way, we were saying one of the, there were a couple of reasons why I can't ever run for president.
Sure.
Mostly because of you people.
Wow.
You. And you people listening. People that keep tape.
Uh-huh.
All right, because we have to get back to Ebola and the new Ebola costumes, just in case you're shopping for Halloween. Kenny Cleveland, Kenny Pick.
Right.
Our good friend. Good God, what were we talking about the other day? The rainbow,
the National Organization for Marriage.
Right. They actually originally had said they were going to have a rainbow coalition of people against gay marriage.
Marriage equality,
I think
Computer says no.
They
that's
lost.
the whole idea about the rainbow thing.
They lost.
Yes, which led Kenny Cleveland's Hey Mama and Mooks. Here we have a mashup of Steph, Jim, and Chris with the inept stylings of rejected National Organization for Marriage actors and a dash of Simon Cowell at the end. The music, of course, is a dumb karaoke version of Rainbow Connection. We have the outtakes from the, what is this, the pro-family?
The National Organization of Marriage.
So these were the people that did not make the cut for the for the fear-mongering ad? Here we go.
The storm is coming.
The storm is coming.
The storm is coming, but we have hope.
The storm is coming, but we have hope.
I am a California doctor. I am a Massachusetts parent, helplessly watching public schools teach my son that gay marriage is okay.
Coming together in love to protect marriage.
There is a storm gathering.
There's a storm gathering.
The clouds are dark and the winds are strong. I am afraid.
And I am afraid.
And I'm afraid.
You're not afraid enough! Some who advocate for same-sex marriage have taken the issue far beyond same-sex couples.
California doctor.
Cut! You sound gay.
And I am afraid.
A rainbow coalition of people.
A rainbow collision of people of every creed.
What? Huh?
Gay marriage has made me into a terrible actor.
There are only so many words I can drag out of my vocabulary to say how awful that was.
Wow. Those really were. I forgot about them. They're the worst actors ever. They did not sound that afraid.
No.
Huh.
You need to be
the
more
Gathering
afraid.
Storm sounded kind of fun. Okay, Victoria in Sacramento, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Victoria.
Good morning, guys.
Hello.
Hey, two things, Stephanie. I wanted to let you know that I have a new tradition with my liberal friends here.
Yes.
On Friday night, we sit down with our martinis, and we watch
So far, so good.
Your Happy Hour.
Oh, yay.
You're a good girl.
It is such a good time.
Thank you.
Hey, secondly, I wanted to mention, I'm dating myself here, but don't you remember when Madonna was on Letterman, like in the early 90s, and she was shocking and everything, and she talked about peeing in the shower? Remember?
Oh, I totally forgot. I guess I ripped that off.
Didn't she pee on Sandra Bernhardt?
Oh, no.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when they were doing their lesbian thing.
Right. There was some performance art.
Yes.
I don't think it was real. I'm not sure. All right. All right, Victoria, drink up. See you on the happy hour.
See you there, guys.
All right.
Yay.
All right. Yeah, this is it's becoming a drinking game around the country, you know.
Yeah?
The happy hour filth.
Every time we say the C word, someone takes a drink.
That's right. And an angel gets its wings. little tiny Chardonnay-soaked wings.
Yay.
All right. Yeah, this is reason number 6,534 why we're a dumb country. And
Right.
we're
Okay.
wrong and inappropriate in every way.
What's going on?
Social media, a buzz over Ebola costumes. I think you said this. You're like, there's going to be Ebola costumes.
Of course there are.
People are going to...
Hazmat suits.
Yeah, but they're also going to dress as the thread, the scary thread that keeps showing on the TV.
All you basically got to do is paint a snake costume brown, and you got an Ebola.
Right. Get some pipe cleaners.
Yeah.
Good to go. What's the costume flap of the year? Might be Ebola, as in Ebola zombies, sexy Ebola patients. Oh, no. Must we make everything into a horror costume?
Yeah.
There is not, because what's sexier than projectile vomiting and diarrhea?
Right.
Nothing. And faux protective gear. Oh, like they had in Dallas. Oh, no, that's just wrong. That seems like, it sounds like what they have. They have like Ebola costumes and not actual protective gear.
Well, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, after the break.
Yes.
No, there was.
I know. We'll talk all about it.
The guy with the clipboard? Have you heard about that?
No.
I'll tell you about that after the break.
Lots of Ebola news after the break.
Uh-huh.
All right, and the rest of what you can get for Halloween. Dumb country. Somebody hit the lights. We're just done as a country.
Yeah.
Hit the lights on the way out. 29 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Look at the man in the dog suit. Hi, Fred.
At least he's more protected than Clipboard Guy.
Oh, my God. Okay, now I know who Clipboard Guy is. Really? God. Who is unprotected Clipboard Dude? Man without hazmat suit transfers Dallas Ebola patient onto CDC plane. Yeah. There he is. Like, everybody's in a hazmat suit. He's just, I'm here with my magic clipboard, which will protect me from Ebola.
Yeah, they were unloading the second Ebola patient in Atlanta, taking her to Emory Hospital.
Right.
And, she's in a hazmat suit. Everybody else is in a hazmat suit. But then this one guy with a clipboard... He's handling canisters. He's handling trash bags.
Right. I am important because I have a clipboard. Let me see what it says here. Oh, it says I am a dumb... Okay. Wow. Nobody knows who he is.
No.
These are all like the aerial photos. He's just walking around. Huh. All right. Well, best of luck to him. Okay, so...
I hope he hasn't come in contact with anybody since then.
That will be... yeah, exactly. That will be a new Halloween costume. Okay. So I was mentioning, because we are a dumb country. Ebola costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Yep, for Halloween. Ironically, one nurse said the idea of riffing on the crisis for Halloween definitely rubs me the wrong way. Normally, I think irony and humor is funny, but this thing with the costumes, is that really funny? I mean, Ebola's not even under control yet. Like it or not, some costume sellers have leftover yellow jumpsuits, rubber gloves, and masks from the Breaking Bad craze last Halloween.
Ah.
This can be repurposed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's we were just saying. It sounds like the Dallas actual workers were doing do-it-themselves Ebola protective gear. Brands on sale. Went there. It's selling the Ebola containment suit costume for $79.99.
All right.
Complete with white suit emblazoned with Ebola, face shield, breathing mask, safety goggles, and blue latex gloves. It says, you are sure to be prepared if any outbreak happens at your Halloween party. This will definitely be the most viral costume of the year. That was shared 7,000 times on social media on Monday. And then he said, the owner of this, if I told you we had a toddler ISIS costume in the works, your mouth would drop. Please not get it. I will definitely let you know when that goes on sale. I can tell you it'll come complete with a fake machine gun.
Oh, my God.
Everybody.
This year, I've seen a preponderance of people dressing their toddlers up as packs of cigarettes.
Was that funny again as well?
I guess.
Okay. People who have kids are just weird anyway.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
Yes, they are weird. I don't get it.
All right, so yes, as we were mentioning this
the little germ Ebola wagons. That's what they are.
Yes, as we mentioned, the Dallas Ebola patient, that was the clipboard guy, was attending the transfer to Emory Hospital in Atlanta. The Dallas healthcare worker, she was identified as 29-year-old Amber Vinson. She was found to be infected with Ebola and transferred to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta after she became the second person to obviously contract it at the Dallas facility. Yeah, this is what the director of the CDC, Dr. Frieden, was saying. Some of the makeshift protective measures healthcare workers at Dallas Hospital were taking increased the risk of contamination, you think. He said one of the things is more layers. By putting on more layers, it becomes much harder to put them on and much harder to take them off. Some healthcare workers were putting on 3 or 4 layers of protective equipment in their belief that this would be more protective, adding that some were using tape to close parts of their gear.
I can see that if you weren't given any direction on how to deal with Ebola, how you would think that more layers would equal more protection.
By the way, Deborah, the head of the Nurses Association that called in randomly, she's quoted everywhere, of course, as the head of the National Nurses Association.
Hey, you heard her first here.
You heard it first here. Because we prepared? No,
because
she just happens to listen, so we lucked out.
And we love her.
Yes, she was great.
Yeah.
The nurses union, blah, 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 detailed what they claim were violations of the CDC's safety protocols, including a lack of proper protective gear to overall ignorance on how the disease spreads. The union said Duncan's contaminated and highly contagious blood test was sent through the hospital's standard testing system, potentially infecting others. We talked about that yesterday. You know, the tubing system that goes through hospitals with
like the pneumatic tubes.
Yes,
like at the bank.
Right, exactly. Here's my Ebola-laden.
Shunk.
Dr. Richard Besser, ABC's medical correspondent, he was former director of the CDC. He said, I think it's too much to expect a hospital can become an Ebola treatment unit simply by reading guidelines. And that's what we were saying, that clearly at this point, people should be sent to one of these 4 hospitals that specialize in this.
Right.
I mean, granted, they're going to present wherever they present. I suppose they're going to go to an emergency room or whatever.
Sure. But not every hospital in the United States is equipped to deal with Ebola.
There's error after error in this the Duncan case in Dallas, because one of them, they were saying they didn't put on hazmat suits until he was confirmed to have Ebola. So he was symptomatic for 2 days, and they're cleaning up diarrhea and vomit and whatever without hazmat suits.
Yeah.
So obviously that's even if there's a suspicion of Ebola, they should err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
And I was saying that yesterday. You know me, I'm notoriously bad at directions. I'm like, I can't just do it. I don't understand how to do that. I can't read diagrams. You can't just tell someone, oh, here's what you do. I mean, somebody was called in and said, I needed 40 hours of training for asbestos, which is not, anywhere near as dangerous as Ebola. One question has been raised is why Duncan was not transported from Dallas to one of the 2 other hospitals with the specialized units, one in Omaha, Nebraska, and the other at Emory in Atlanta, which have successfully treated Ebola patients. There's a lot of questions surrounding his care from the get-go. No healthcare workers at the Omaha or Atlanta facilities have reported infections after treating 3 Ebola patients at Emory, and also the American reporter currently in treatment in Nebraska.
Right.
In fact, I think to make a point yesterday, President Obama was hugging.
Well, he said that he had hugged yeah. He said
not like the Secret Service would care. Sure, go ahead, lick their eyeballs, Mr. President. Sure, it'll be fine.
Although he did, it was funny because yesterday he said, yeah, I hugged and kissed, not necessarily the men, but the female nurses.
Right.
That
was just an excuse to kiss some hot nurses.
Well,
Michelle's like, It's not a public hell. I saw that. I see you. Okay, Linda in San Antonio, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Linda.
Hey, I'm getting concerned about the CDC and their perception. There's so many people in our country who think that they're, already not trustworthy, and now it's coming out that the woman who flew from Cleveland to Dallas or Dallas to Cleveland, that she was given permission to fly, but they don't know why she was given permission.
She said she called the CDC several times.
She did, but her fever wasn't above the threshold for being what the CDC considers a fever. Her fever was at like 99 point something. She wasn't at 100 point whatever.
Right, but Linda, the doctor said she still shouldn't have flown, particularly on the way back.
Right.
So,
I agree with that. I guess I support the CDC. I believe in what they say. Do something. Okay, that sounds good. But there's so many people who don't trust them, and it seems like, and there's so much fear and all the people getting so incredibly worried when they don't need to be worried that it's getting very easy to say, well, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're sending out protocol information. The hospital doesn't follow it. They can't do anything about it. But what everyone's saying is it's the CDC's fault.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like, of course, they're going to do anything to blame Obama. Like he's in charge of implementing procedures at every hospital in the United States. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can't expect that's the problem. How does the CDC control every single hospital in the United States? Like you say, you can send out guidelines and people.
And like the president said yesterday, right now we are sending out SWAT teams to every, CDC SWAT teams.
Yeah.
Then they'll turn around and say that that's just more government fascism.
Yeah, government overreach, right.
Oh, yeah.
I want a government reach around at this point on this, is all I'm saying. By the way, was that one of those automated calls from the airlines that you got? Hi, it's Frontier Airlines. With some cheery music. If you happen to be on flight, which flight was it? Were you on flight number, I don't know, whatever it was. Hi, it's Frontier Airlines. If you are on flight to whatever, you'll think this is funny. You might have Ebola. Call the CDC now. Really? Because is it you know how you can check like automatic flight notifications on your
on your phone?
Was that an automatic one? Or did you get or for once could you get an actual person? Good morning. It's Frontier Airlines.
You're going to think this is a funny story.
You probably have a good sense of humor already because you fly Frontier Airlines, and we suck. Okay.
If they should ever decide to sponsor the Stephanie Miller Show,
we would welcome that. And I take back everything I just said. Oh, boy. John in Los Angeles here on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John.
Oh, I'm not John.
Oh, yeah, I hit the wrong line. Hello, John. There you are. I'm not John.
Hey,
hi.
I trust the CDC less and less. When Tom Friedman comes out and says you only need the one layer, as he was saying, as you were just talking about, and then yesterday I see him in Liberia, and he's got multiple layers on. He has multiple.
Dr. Frieden was in Liberia?
I don't think Dr. Frieden was in Liberia.
No, he was. If you look and see the CDC,
he was
the head of the CDC in Liberia, then I'm sorry, it wasn't Tom Friedman, but he had all of the double gear on.
Okay. All right. Maybe you're thinking it was Bud Friedman. Maybe he was doing an improv comedy tour of Liberia with some comedians.
Yeah.
No?
Dr. Frieden is the head of the CDC, and he was not in Liberia yesterday.
But nice try, Trolley McTrollerson. Okay.
But he does have a little bit of a point. I'm trusting the CDC a little bit less and less because they've screwed up on a number of fronts.
How so?
They were.
I mean, honestly, how are you going to go to every hospital in the United States and make sure they're implementing this?
You could at least send out some, concrete guidelines.
But that's what I'm saying. They did. The problem is these nurses are saying they have not had the training, and that you can't.
Is that a problem with the CDC, or is that a problem with the hospital?
The hospital, yes, it's a
problem
with the hospital.
And the hospital gets those guidelines from the CDC.
Right.
And so I think ultimately it's the CDC's problem that. When this became a real danger, they didn't rush forward and get on top of it. They're kind of cleaning it up from behind. They didn't jump on it.
Is that like leading from behind, or
yes.
cleaning up from behind?
They're cleaning up from behind.
Well, that's what you do with projectile diarrhea, sadly. All right, 45 minutes after the hour, back with all the latest on this as we continue on the Stephanie Miller Show. Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 50 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Let's see. Who sent me this? Just now on Morning Squint and the Meat Puppet.
Oh, boy.
As Charlie Pierce calls Morning Joe. Nicole Wallace rants about the CDC and how the White House she worked in, the Bush White House, would never have had a question about who was in charge in a crisis. Another member of the panel looked her in the eye and said, "Heck of a job, Brownie. Priceless."
Yeah.
Nicely done. Yes, the government ran the course much more seamlessly during Hurricane Katrina when the Bush administration was in charge.
Yeah.
All right. 1-800-STEPH-12. I
wonder who that panelist was that said that. That's awesome.
I love that. Don in New Hampshire, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome, Don.
Good morning, Mama.
Good morning. Go ahead.
I'm wondering why we're not hearing more about the environmental health department of that hospital and how they've been handling all the biohazard from that patient.
Well, if it's Texas, I'm sure it's completely unregulated, so that's good. There's no government overreach there.
And you know what? Guess what? Rick Perry is gallivanting around Europe right now.
Speaking of leading from behind.
Thing I was going to mention.
Yep.
But it's also awkward that it seems that there's been a lot of different outbreaks in that state of Texas.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what I was saying about, I mean, look, I get it that, clearly we need to do more and something, I think the SWAT teams, by the way, are a great idea. The president talking about it yesterday, but
Ebola SWAT teams, not actual SWAT teams.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. SWAT teams have
I know
guns.
that you can't shoot Ebola to death. Okay, but my point is, it's just, as you know, some people are going to use any, any excuse to talk about, the government, they're all boobs, they're all incompetent boobs, the CDC, blah, blah, blah. I mean, honestly, this is unbelievable. You know Dr. Keith Abloh? He's the Fox psychologist.
Psychologist in finger quotes.
The headline is Fox Pundit's ugly racial rant blames Obama's affiliation with Africa for Ebola in the U.S. I mean, I knew people were just going to go off the rails with this no matter what happened. The president yesterday has promised a much more aggressive federal government response to Ebola, including health care SWAT teams to help inexperienced local hospitals cope with any new case on U.S. soil. The president yesterday.
We are monitoring, supervising, overseeing in a much more aggressive way exactly what's taking place in Dallas initially, and making sure that the lessons learned are then transmitted to hospitals and clinics all across the country.
He said what we've been doing here today is reviewing exactly what we know about what's happened in Dallas and how we're going to make sure that something like that is not repeated. The president, again, yesterday.
As soon as somebody is diagnosed with Ebola, we want a rapid response team, a SWAT team, essentially from the CDC, to be on the ground as quickly as possible.
And then he kissed some hot nurses just to prove a point. Do you think Michelle, he got the frying pan when he got home? I don't know.
Hillary left that frying pan for Michelle in the White House kitchen.
Yep. If those who come into contact with Ebola patients follow established procedures, Dr. Frieden said yesterday, the president said, then the likelihood of a widespread Ebola outbreak in this country are very, very low. I mean, again, there are clearly, some panic, which is understandable, but I think, for instance, like Dr. Frieden said yesterday, the likelihood is very low that the woman that even flew infected anybody who was not symptomatic on the flight. But, again, abundance of caution at a point like this. Let's go to Chris in California. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
I'm a nurse, and 99.4 is not even close to a fever.
Right.
Number one. So she keep they keep blaming nurses, and
right.
the group from Texas are being very closely surveilled. because they have to report their temperatures every day to the CDC.
Right.
I don't trust the CDC anymore. They lied throughout the AIDS crisis.
See?
Who really solved the AIDS crisis? It wasn't the CDC. It was the patients, their family, their friends.
Right, but I think but Chris, don't you think government, and this, meaning the government in terms of the administration goes hand in hand with that? I mean, the Reagan administration had a lot to do with why
they directed
was
policy.
Yes.
Right,
that's what I'm saying. It's like it depends on who the CDC is under, don't you think? I mean, it's pretty well documented that the Reagan administration did nothing. They would not even say the word AIDS.
You can definitely use the bully pulpit to put a lot of attention on something. However, as nurses, and we know what we are working under, a corporate medicine environment. So the CDC can issue all the guidelines they want, and each and every one of those hospital chains can pick and choose which guidelines they want to follow.
Because they're just guidelines. They're not regulations.
Chris, I did a lot of rallies and things with the nurses out here in California when Governor Schwarzenegger was, trying to do all the stuff he was doing with the unions. And I got to tell you, I agree with the defensiveness, like this Nina Pham, the first one that was infected. People that know her. I mean, first of all, God bless you all. You're doing the Lord's work, and I wouldn't be able to do it. But they were saying to sort of imply that she was not being careful. I get that people would be defensive about that because they said she was the most careful nurse that a lot of people knew, right?
She was not given proper equipment and proper training.
Right, and then the second nurse
absolutely
called the CDC.
I've read a very caring, young nurse. It's very sad to see our colleagues, being infected by something that can be prevented, and they keep bragging about we're the best, we have the best health care in the world.
Right, and this woman, again, she called the CDC. They tried to, at first make it seem wildly irresponsible that she would fly, and
but the CDC said that she could.
Yeah.
And so I totally blame the CDC for this. The nurse had absolutely nothing to do with it.
And in Liberia, you know what they call Ebola? The nurse killer disease. So nurses have to be on the forefront of really teaching people about what we're up against in this environment of corporate medicine. And personally, the nurse that flew, that shows that, there was no training, before or after, because they're so closely surveilling these 77 people, which, by the way, a number like 77 tells me that this patient, Mr. Duncan, was not put in isolation.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah. When he first came in for, 2 days or something, he's where other patients could be. And as you say, we had, Chris, I don't know if you heard, the head of the nurses union out here call in.
I had her call you.
What's that?
I had her call.
Oh, okay,
you are awesome,
Hi,
Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. But anyway, it just goes to this is the whole point of unions. This is why this is such a great American tradition, and the Republicans are trying to shut them down at every turn. Right? This is exactly why you need something like a nurses union.
And my union is awesome. I participated in an Ebola die-in Las Vegas at the end of last month.
Oh wow!
And it was just about a week before Mr. Duncan was diagnosed, and it was the biggest demonstration by any group. It was 1,000 nurses who, there were some that played patients who died in front of the Bellagio, and then we drew chalk outlines.
So you guys are on top of it.
Yeah.
A lot more than CDC has been.
My union is awesome.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thanks so much for checking in and having Deborah call us. All right, 58 minutes after the hour, Dean Obadala next on the Stephanie Miller Show. Miller Show, welcome to it. When you give me my cue, which is...
Talk whore.
Right, I was eating jerky. It was too chewy, so I threw it to Fred right before we went on air.
It's right there. It's right there. Eat it.
I can't see it. I am looking at the lady.
The food is right there. Okay, it's the Stephanie Miller Show.
I don't see the food. I see the lady.
I see the lady that gives me the food. Where did the food go? Okay. Jackie Scheckner live in hour number 3 in studio. 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Oh, quick love letter. By the way, journalist whore May Lee will be on the big happy hour podcast this week along with Jim Ward. Robbie with a love letter. You guys finally broke me. Steph, I tried so hard to fight purchasing a yearly subscription to the Happy Hour videocast, but you guys finally broke me down.
Aww.
Okay. I guess, after all, you're the whoriest whores that ever did whore. Yes, indeed. Thanks. You're just saying that to be sweet.
Aww.
So how the hell could I possibly resist? While I personally never comfortable actually using the C word myself, I do love to hear you guys all drink and swear like sailors, and bam, mother son of a sailors. Since I'm a small business owner and, of course, was recently forced to fire everybody, thanks, Obama, I don't have a lot of money, but please accept my $100 donation to the show as well. Aww. In closing, see you next Tuesday on Free Speech TV, of course. All right, buddy. And on the happy hour. Let's see, the happy hour. All right. You know who else we have to get on that happy hour podcast if he ever can get here from New York? Yeah.
Here he comes. Yes, it's Dino Bartala. Yes, it's Dino Bartala. Dino Bartala.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I would love to come to California to be on this show and everything. Of course, I'm not going to fly with the Ebola. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Fly Air Ebola.
In November. Can I just say, as a Muslim, I'm honestly deep down happy we're talking Ebola and not Muslims.
Well, you wrote a piece. What if your business is called ISIS? Maybe people are changing it to Ebola. If their business is named ISIS.
The Ebola going to go from the ISIS cafe to the Ebola cafe, and hopefully that'll work better for people. I'm not quite sure, but
by the way, we confirm today you can get not only an Ebola Halloween costume but a toddler ISIS outfit. Isn't that nice?
I didn't know that. That's great. You have to combine the two. There has to be like a Muslim person who's got a fever and sniffles.
Yes. I'm an ISIS member with Ebola.
It comes with a fever.
Yeah.
It's great. Can we just say one thing?
Yes.
Could everyone just calm down a little bit about both ISIS and Ebola?
Yeah.
I mean, Ebola, 2 people have gotten ill in the entire country of 330 million people.
Yeah.
And one person who passed away didn't contract the disease in America. So, but people are freaking out like it's, the invasion of the body snatchers. Like people are really, like a zombie thing is going on. Look, I'm not saying don't be concerned, but maybe it's the media. I mean, I have to think, honestly, part of it's the ginning up of, let's be afraid, oh my God, Ebola's coming to get you. Someone's sniffling, tackle them.
Dean, once again, it's up to comedians like you and I and Jon Stewart to say that I was Jon Stewart ripped sanity-resistant Ebola coverage. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He introduced a clip of Texas Representative Pete Sessions urging the White House to ban all U.S.-bound flights from West Africa. And then he said, now let's hear from the opposite of an expert, a congressman. He said Sessions is carrying a dangerously mutated sanity-resistant strain of fear that has now gone airborne.
Oh, my God, that's very funny. Yeah. I mean, John McCain's going to call for bombing parts of Texas pretty soon.
Yes.
The Ebola. There's no doubt they've turned it into a campaign issue, too. Then that's the worst thing now. So it's about Ebola and ISIS, and you see Republicans in their ads doing ISIS, and now you have them shifting to Ebola. So fear works in elections. We've seen it. There's nothing, we can't get around that. So they know it's going to work for some people, and they're going to save you from Ebola. I'm not sure how. Give everybody a special suit from Outbreak.
Yeah. And you, by the way, are also a lawyer. So in addition to being a comedian, and as you know, a Muslim, I just like to pronounce it that way.
Lawyer.
But your piece on it's a very handy-dandy legal guide. What if your business is called ISIS? You say
yes. I wrote for something for CNN because I'm a Daily Beast columnist, but every now and then I'm going to start writing again for CNN once in a while.
All right.
This one I wrote for them about what if your name is ISIS, because over the weekend the FX cartoon series Archer had
we talked
an
about
employer of the spies named the International Secret Intelligence Service, known as ISIS. And the head of the creator of the show, Adam Reed, said over the weekend, we're going to drop that for season 6. I'm like, why are you going to drop it? Why are you letting ISIS, a terrorist group, in a way influence your decisions, your creative decisions as a writer and a producer? It made no sense to me.
Well, and plus as someone that has dealt with a lot of excess swag from old canceled TV shows, there's a lot of, as you say, ISIS hats and shirts and things like that now.
They're out there now, and the FX has officially stopped selling those online. You can get them on eBay for a premium, because it's funny to me, of course, that's really happening. Now, you really can get them on eBay. I looked it up. But according to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, there are over 270 products or business names in the United States active among federal trademarks that use ISIS, like ISIS Pharmaceutical Company, ISIS wig manufacturer. There was an ISIS wallet that AT&T Mobile and Verizon put together, like a phone.
Okay, let's go back to the wig makers. So you're telling me there are ISIS wigs on those disembodied wig heads? Is what you're saying?
They're made by ISIS apparently, and in the article I read,
I might change my name.
People look at the name ISIS and they go, I don't want to buy it. Like, really? Why don't you talk to them and convince them that the terrorists in the Middle East, in between beheadings, are not making wigs and shipping them to America and selling them? I mean, what is going on? Why are we panicky? We've become such a panicky nation. We went from the greatest generation to the panicky generation.
You say, okay, do you A, change the name of your business, B, sue the terrorist group for trademark infringement? That'll get them. That'll hurt. Or C, keep your name and hope customers don't get spooked. And so you are saying the third, as you say you say my advice is if your company or product is called ISIS, keep the name. Why allow a terrorist group to tell you what you can call your business? Yes, the terrorists win if we change our names, right?
You do on some level, but secondly, you know what's really winning is panic and fear. That's what's really winning.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, do you really want a customer that stupid who thinks the ISIS cafe in the neighborhood that's been there for 3 years is now run by the terrorists in the Middle East? Maybe you don't want that person, but I can't say it that way. So the way I said it instead was, let's everyone take a breath. And really, on both Ebola and ISIS, let's everyone just take a collective breath, calm down. You know, the ISIS pharmaceutical company, who's been around for 25 years in California, has no connection to the terrorist named ISIS. It's based on the Egyptian goddess named Isis.
Right.
So let's have a little. Everyone just chill. Like we gotta have a collective chill moment.
What does the ISIS phone app do?
It was like it helps you make mobile payments for your phone.
Oh, that's handy.
Soft card. And, I guess they're hoping that ISIS doesn't change their name to the soft card state, because that would screw them big time.
So you could literally fund ISIS.
You could, through your app. Which would have been the rub. That would have been, that's different. I can't get into that. That's happening. But why would a huge company like AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, it's called the ISIS wallet. Why was there someone out there going, I just don't feel comfortable using it. I don't know where the money is going. It's made by three of the biggest American corporations.
Right.
The money's going to them, I can assure you. Any profit involved is theirs, not some Middle East terrorist group. But
yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, back in the early 80s, there was a diet candy named AIDS.
That's right.
And they had to kind of get rid of that.
Well,
because it took on a bad connotation.
Right.
Right. That was
they both help you lose weight, but it was not what was intended. Right.
Right. And that was going to be, AIDS was not something that was transitory. We knew that was a disease that we're going to have to fight for years and years, and we have. ISIS is going to lead, at some point it's not going to be in the news anymore. And these companies that change their name are going to look back in a year and go, I should have changed it. That was kind of stupid.
Right.
Now I call my place the Al-Qaeda Hookah Cafe. I thought that was better or something. Or Osama's Joint. There were places called Osama's Cafe after 2000. Yeah. After 9/11, they had to go through the same thing, and some changed their name, and some didn't. And, people... Ultimately, I think fear needs to give way to intellect.
Right.
And we have to be like, hey, okay, it's ISIS, I get it. We're calling it ISIL, like the president does, and then that's the end of the whole issue.
Right. Yeah.
Well, after World War II, the name Adolf, people did not receive the name Adolf anymore because it had a negative connotation.
Well, that's different. If you name a kid, I had a friend who was a lawyer whose first name was Adolf, and that was really unfortunate for him. It really was. He was a lawyer named Adolf, and he'd be in court, he'd say objection and stand up and put his hand up. We're like, that's just awkward. Adolf, sit down, put your hand down.
All right, I changed it to Eichmann. Is that better? Okay. All right.
Well, that's my whole point. My thing is, on both Ebola and ISIS, please, everybody, let's take a break, look at the breath, take a look at the facts. I'm not saying don't be alert, but...
Well, I think Rude Pundit wrote that yesterday. He said, it's Al-Qaeda with a better marketing department. You're right. It's like it's such a media sort of overblown, like, oh, my God, this is the scariest thing ever, right?
Well, their beheading things were really effective because, honestly, before that, they were rampaging through the Middle East, and we were not paying attention, nor did we even care. Let's be honest. Americans, public opinion showed we didn't care. They did 2 beheadings. They killed 2 people. Think about that. 2 people animated the entire nation, or most of the nation, to switch public opinion to say, Obama, you got to do something. They're going to come here and cut our heads off.
Yeah.
Like, no, they really weren't, but still, it was very effective, and they did... In their own mind, it's what they wanted. They wanted to become more martyrs and more glorified, and it helps them recruit.
Well, they'd like us to do the same thing we did last time and give them lots of nice big American targets over in Iraq to, that was the irony of, we got to fight them there so they don't come here. No, they're trying to get us to come there so it's easier for them to kill us.
Come here. And then Obama's operation, the new name for the operation, Inherent Resolve, for the military action.
I know.
Which makes
it
long for the Bush names. I mean, really, this was like...
Yes, remember all the macho but yet highly ineffective military operations like Commando Eagle and...
I'm not even sure what Inherent Resolve... It gets you a good Scrabble score, but I'm not even sure what that inherently will resolve.
Operation Cautious Optimism. It's just, I know, it's...
At this point, Obama must be like, impeach me. Really, I just want to leave. I've had enough. This is just ridiculous. Biden, you can hang on to the sinking ship. I'm gone.
I actually like it. I would prefer a president that thinks things through, and even the name of the operation is more thoughtful than... Because that was like an eagle without underpants is what the last one was named in Iraq, and that was just big and dumb and macho and, right?
Well, Inherent Resolve, though, is very thoughtful. It's an SAT type of thing. I can see a committee of guys sitting around.
You need a dictionary to look that one up.
I think this is very important. I like it. Like, exactly. You know, it was Inherently Resolved? No. Inherent Resolve. So it's... But I thought it was funny that the military guys go...
Operation General Ennui.
Operation General Ennui.
That'd be very good. They go Operation That's My Humvee.
Yeah. All right, Dean.
They blew up my Humvee that I used in Iraq, and now we just blew it up, which made it was funny and made a great point at the same time. Yes, we're blowing up the same equipment we had used, brought to Iraq, and we left there, and now someone else using it, and we're blowing it up again. It's just a vicious cycle.
Ridiculous.
General Dynamics must love. And
Dean, you are a delight, sir. And
no, you are.
No.
You.
Oh,
I'm going to see you guys hopefully in California.
Okay. Do it.
Ebola passes. I'm not flying anywhere.
Do it.
Crazy now. Get out of here.
Yeah. No, you can not believe the deals you can get on orbits with Air Ebola. It's amazing.
Air Ebola?
Yes. All right. Love you. See you soon. There he goes. Dino
Yay,
Badala.
Dino Badala.
All right. Yeah, we got to come up with some more operation names. I wonder what were the rejects to Operation Inherent Resolve?
Oh, God.
Operation Feckless Indifference. 18 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. Oh, welcome to it. 23 minutes after the hour, 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Dr. Tom Frieden of the CDC, the CDC director yesterday on this second nurse. She was just flown to Emory Hospital in Atlanta. Or not. Okay, yeah. Or I could talk to my Tony in L.A. Hello, Tony in L.A. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello.
Hey there. How about, I don't know. It's just so racist in a lot of ways, because let's face it, if those people were in Bosnia, we probably would have solved this thing by now.
Yeah.
That's my first point.
Somebody tweeted yesterday, Tony, they said, let's be honest, would we have an Ebola vaccine if this wasn't poor black people dying in Africa?
Exactly. Because think about it, Mr. Duncan he never got a chance to get the serum. Why does everybody, so far the only people have been non-black people that got the serum. So let's be real about that.
Well, I guess they're saying it was not a match, but it sure seems like his treatment was different, right from the get-go, right? Not just getting turned away, but they didn't, that he was out in the open, that he was all that stuff, right? That he didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because basically, think about it, if it was a private hospital, if he went there and didn't have an insurance card, they were like, oh, here's an aspirin, go home.
Right.
We're not, touching you. That's basically what happened. And then it's like, oh, my God, now we know what it is. And I guess the other part I was going to say is, why do some people have a God complex? We are human beings. How can you anticipate every single thing? First of all, like I said, if we had been really treating it in Africa, we'd know a lot more. But, okay, it gets over here. What if we didn't have a CDC?
Right.
At all. You can't keep blaming, you didn't, well, if that's the case, then why didn't Bush and Cheney, which, we already know when you put a dick in a bush together what you get. But anyway.
Right.
Why is
Dick Cheney and President Bush, yes.
Right, of course. Yeah. Tony, of course we know what you meant.
Why didn't they anticipate this? Since we're in the axis of evil, why didn't they do it? It just goes to show all the cracks that we have in terms of training, in terms of, you can't keep pointing.
But Tony, the CDC is there to provide that guidance. And in this case, I think they kind of fell down on the job.
I think they did. I mean, to a degree they did, but what if they didn't exist at all?
Well, but they do exist.
More importantly, Tony, is the funding, right? I mean, that's the main thing. The head of the Health Institute says if the Republicans hadn't cut funding, we would have had an Ebola vaccine by now.
That's true too.
But that's the National Institutes of Health,
right?
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying,
different.
How could they, as the nurses were saying, with the union could take care of their people better than the CDC because, as you said, they could have had every video, suit, training.
Right, and Tony, a lot of people have been talking about how come the police departments have friggin' cannons and God knows what else, and they don't have, these hospitals don't have the proper protective gear?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if they had all that ready to go like yesterday, it's still up to the hospitals to do it.
Yep, that's right. All right, Dr. Frieden, yesterday, here he is, director of the CDC.
Although she did not report any symptoms and she did not meet the fever threshold of 100.4,
she did report at that time that she took her temperature and found it to be 99.5. So by both of those criteria, she should not have been on that plane.
He said she should not have traveled on a commercial airline. The CDC guidance in this setting outlines the need for what is called controlled movement. That includes a charter plane. It can include a car, but it does not include public transport. He added, and I mentioned this earlier, there was probably little risk of other people on her flight contracting Ebola, which is spread obviously with bodily fluids, but the CDC nevertheless reaching out to other passengers. The fact that patient number 2 did not have a fever until the next day, did not have nausea or vomiting on the plane, suggests to us the risk to any around that individual on the plane would have been extremely low. I mean, let's hope that that is true. Then the National Nurses United, who we talked to the head of them, obviously, said workers at the Dallas hospital had complained of insufficient training and equipment after Duncan arrived. She said nurses had to interact with Mr. Duncan with whatever protective equipment was available at the time when he had copious amounts of diarrhea and vomiting, which produces a lot of contagious fluid.
Yeah.
Deborah Berger, our friend Deborah, who called in.
She's our friend now.
Yes, she is our friend. Robert in Texas, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Robert.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, I'm glad I hung on.
Okay.
I wanted to comment that this is what happens when we go to a profit-driven medical system.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is a physician. I'm a stay-at-home dad. And she was given just this pile of protocols to be followed, which quickly, looking at the AMA websites, were shown to be incorrect or outdated.
Oh, boy.
And, this is what the nurses, what the doctors, and their families are left with.
And those guidelines come from the CDC.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're sorely outdated or sorely incorrect. But this is what happens when you're no longer looking out for the public good.
Yeah, single payer, once again. Just saying. Just throwing it out. Just saying. 29 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. The Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour, 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Everybody's praying to the God of left turns that Jackie Scheckner will be on time today. The God of left turn lights, which I do not have down there.
No.
Okay.
Darren in Tennessee, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Darren.
Hi, how are you?
Good, go ahead.
I just want to say I love you guys. I've been with you for a long time.
Thank you.
I have 2 siblings that are in the medical profession. I have an older brother that's a doctor and a sister, pardon me, that's a nurse. And we had an interesting conversation about this last night. And, I don't think people realize that, for a hospital in the U.S. to be certified to be able to practice, they have to meet very, very stringent requirements for sanitation and for cleanliness and all these basic protocols.
Right.
And those don't exist in Africa. That's why this happened in Africa.
Right.
And for this to spread in the U.S. it's such a long shot. It's just a 1 in a million or 1 in a billion chance. I mean, just the basic protocols will stop this from spreading. And really, healthcare workers are really the only ones that are at risk right now.
Yeah, and Darren, somebody made a point on my Twitter. I mean, the CDC can set the guidelines. It's up to the hospitals to implement them. And, this is why we were saying, I mean, it seems to me like when this presents, they should be sent to one of these 4 hospitals right now that are prepared. And in the meantime, obviously, all these other hospitals need better training. This is what all the nurse associations are saying. Dr. Frieden, again, yesterday, CDC director.
We are going and will always put in extra margins of safety, and therefore they will be reaching out to all of the passengers and crew of that flight.
No word on whether, I assume those are not automated calls. That would just be rude.
I would hope not.
Hello. It's Frontier Airlines.
You're going to think this is funny.
You're going to think this is funny. If you were on Frontier Airlines Flight 1143, okay, stay with me here. There's a punchline. Okay, there was someone with Ebola on the flight. Pardon me, I said Ebola. Yes, the second nurse who cared for the Ebola patient has been diagnosed. Joy Vincent is her name, 29, another really young nurse, reported
really young compared to you.
Well, everyone's young compared to me. My point is both of them are young, dedicated young professionals, Chris.
Yes.
She went to plan a wedding, I guess, in her home state of Ohio. Mm-hmm. She was not experiencing symptoms when she took the commercial flight from Cleveland to Dallas-Fort Worth on Monday, but he said she should not have traveled on her return flight to Texas after learning in Ohio that she had a potential infection risk. The CDC is asking all 132 passengers to call the CDC. Since Vincent didn't have a fever and wasn't vomiting on the flight, he said it suggests to us the risk any person around that individual on the plane would have it would be extremely low. The one concern, though, I was reading this particular plane made 5 additional flights on Tuesday before being taken out of service for
as planes often do
decontamination.
Yeah,
I said Okay, John in Minneapolis. Hello, John. Welcome.
Yes, I just wanted to say, our privatized healthcare system, I have to disagree with the last caller. We're not as well prepared as we'd like to think, and the reason is the goals of taking care of people are always going to clash, or a lot of times clash with the goals of making money. The bottom line for a privatized healthcare system is to make money. It began, in that hospital, I'm sure what happened was they probably are somewhat understaffed because you have to understaff in order to make money. The physician that probably blew it off to begin with probably was really overwhelmed because a lot of the hospitals, particularly in areas where there are not very many people covered, or 25%.
Right. Well, I mean, let's put it in perspective. Nobody here had Ebola, so, in terms of human error, you're like, oh, my God, why didn't you ask if he'd, been in Africa? I mean, you're right. I suppose human error, it wasn't top of mind, I suppose,
the fact that the patient was left, in an area where they could contaminate other people, that decision was based probably on the fact that, the hospital didn't want to spend the resources to put them in isolation. And the nurses revealed that to Juan Gonzalez on Democracy Now! Through Nurses United. They were so afraid to actually reveal their voice that they emailed the responses in when asked.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to say, I'm always worried I'm going to get something in a hospital. But, that's always
well, that's where sick people
right.
are.
Yes, exactly. So it needs to be bad before I go to the hospital. I'm like, lost one leg in the thresher. Should be fine. I could run that off. I might get something worse in the hospital. Can I have my conspiracy theory music?
Sure.
I always want to know, what does Dr. Keith Abloh, the pop psychologist on Fox, think about all this?
Oh, Lord.
He's the resident psychiatrist at Fox News?
Yeah.
And, okay. He declared that President Obama was allowing Ebola into the United States because of his affiliations and affinities were more with Africa than, see America. Oh, he was on the John Gibson radio show on the Fox News radio.
Does he realize that Hawaii is on the exact opposite side of the globe as Africa? There's...
You get what he's saying. Okay. In case you haven't noticed.
In case you haven't noticed, he's black.
He said that he has looked deep inside the president's psyche to determine that Obama did
not... Without, examining him or talking to him.
He doesn't need to.
Okay.
To determine that Obama did not want to seal the borders or build a wall because he sees Americans as a scourge on the face of the earth. Gibson wondered what could be the harm in stopping air traffic from the 3 African countries. Abloh said he knew why Obama wouldn't do it. His affinity, his affiliations are with them, not us. That's what people seem unwilling to accept. He's their leader. We don't have a president. John Gibson asked, we don't have a president? Seemed to befuddle even John Gibson. We don't have a president, Abloh said, no. We don't have a president who has the American people as his primary interest, who believes the country has a manifest destiny and has been a force for good. He went on to speculate that Obama had only been elected because Americans were victims of Stockholm Syndrome and decided to elect somebody who has names very similar to 2 of our arch enemies, Obama, and Hussein. What it does, it removes the United States from its rightful place at the leading edge of a march for freedom in the world and encourages those who hate freedom like ISIL to go on their own march, which they have done. Okay. He blows.
Yeah. It's irresponsible for Fox News to have someone like that on their payroll.
Oh, you think?
It's really irresponsible.
Okay. Jack in Chicago, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Jack.
Hello, Stephanie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, you know what? Me and my brother are big fans of the show, and we argue back and forth. I agree with about 90% of the things you guys talk about on the show. And my brother and me, unfortunately, we're stuck together. Or maybe fortunately, we're stuck together in the house today. And we're arguing vehemently about I don't like this race card pulling that this man, the original Duncan that was in the Dallas hospital, how he was not treated accordingly because he was black man. I think that's ridiculous. First of all, this man was not forthcoming. He wanted to blow through customs.
Right. No, we've mentioned that, but I think what people are saying, he was poor, black, had an accent, and had no insurance.
It's a combination of all of those.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was. They were saying just because he's black.
Right.
Okay, that's the main crux I have of that issue is just that, you know, these hospitals, you know, I mean, he's got flu-like symptoms, and like you guys had spoken earlier, who expected Ebola? It was the first
Right.
case.
I mean, I think of how many millions of people present with flu-like symptoms, at this time of year in hospitals all over the country, and you're absolutely right. People were not, Ebola wasn't here yet. People weren't, and obviously that was, you know, a question that should have been asked. Have you been, you know, traveling in Africa?
Well, supposedly, from what I've read in the reports, is that he was asked if he'd been exposed.
Well, that was on the form. That was on the form in order to travel, right? Before he traveled.
Okay. But I just don't want I don't want this to blow into a race issue when it's a very scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm terrified of it.
Well, I guess we can only speculate. I don't know what you're saying. I guess we can speculate. Would he have told the truth? You mean if the hospital had asked him? Have you been?
No, I mean, like when he came through the airport, I had read that he, you know, when he came through customs, they initially were aware of the Ebola.
He said, "Have you been in contact with anybody with Ebola?" And he said, "No," and that was, you know, that was untrue. I mean, that's the other part of this that, you know, how do you? That you obviously have to look at because obviously a lot of people are trying to get out of these countries.
Yeah.
And okay, Diane in Chicago. Hello, Diane. Welcome.
Hi, Steph.
Hi.
Oh, God, I love you people. Thank God for you.
Thank you.
Every morning. I think we're missing the point. It's a private hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
So the CDC does not have the authority to just go in.
They have to be invited?
The hospital says, I think we have an Ebola person. And they go, okay, we're here for you. Do you need us? No, we got this.
Well, that's what I mean. And you're in a state that's very anti-regulation, anti-federal government.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. If the CDC had just, you know, bumbled into the door, they would have said government takeover of a private, you know.
Right.
So that's why the guy from the CDC said, I wish we had gone in earlier. It wasn't their mistake. It was they were obeying the rules.
Right,
so yesterday when the president said we're going in like a SWAT team, he was overriding that and saying, forget being invited, we're going.
Yeah, because previously the CDC was like a vampire. They had to be invited in.
Exactly. And by the way, Rick Perry is reacting by gallivanting in Europe. Because he's the opposite of any kind of government involvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's on a European holiday.
President Obama obviously canceled his trip to chair a meeting on Ebola.
And he canceled another one today.
Right.
Another trip today.
Rick Perry's still in Europe on a trip.
Yep.
Foreign policy trip that has been criticized the last couple of days for being away during a crisis in Dallas, a crisis affecting his state. Andrea Mitchell suggested this is someone who's been considering another campaign for the presidency, perhaps is burnishing his foreign policy credentials. Oh, how could they get any better? He's Perry's spokespeople confirmed he's remaining in Europe and was issuing statements on the situation in Dallas in absentia. If it were somebody else, and I'm not saying necessarily somebody with a different skin color, I would think that would be called leading from behind and feckless indifference of some kind. Okay.
I do believe that Governor Perry is being feckless.
Okay. And Juan. And professorial over in Europe.
Especially with his new glasses.
And foreign, and too intellectual.
He looks professorial with those glasses.
Oh, yes, he does. Yeah. 46 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. That wasn't a soundbite. That's 4 minutes to save the world.
Right. I got it.
Got it.
Yeah, we already
Okay.
played
All right.
soundbite 4.
Okay, got it. All right. 51 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Oh, heavens. If I had to count how many subject lines I've got in my lifetime, Chris is wrong. All right. Give yourself some festive music. Rocky in Madison. Steph, Chris is wrong. Let me help. The hospital got the guidelines from the CDC. When you get the guidelines from a specific important agency, they are provided for you to follow. If you choose not to follow these guidelines, it's not the agency's fault that you failed. I don't know how Chris can conclude that it's the underfunded CDC's fault for a hospital that did not follow the guidelines provided. If most of Americans start to think that way, you will believe that it can be done better by a private company that will cost taxpayers more money, and the CDC currently costs. Sorry for the long way around of saying Chris is wrong.
Yeah, but the CDC admitted that they screwed up.
How?
We played the soundbite yesterday. Dr. Tom Frieden said that we screwed up at the beginning.
No, he said we screwed up.
Not in so many words, but yes, they said that mistakes were made.
Not by them.
Yes, by them.
I don't think that's what they said. Okay. Love letter for me, hate letter for you as usual. Nina and Jerry, best part of my week. Steph, I married the boy next door. After 27 years and 3 kids together, we've discovered some tricks that really upped our sex life to a whole new level. Good for you.
Oh, all right.
So now Freaky Fridays were the highlight of our week. Now that has been upped again. Every Saturday afternoon we wake up, the first thing we do is download the Happy Hour podcast and spend the rest of the day laughing and saying to each other, did you hear what Steph, Chris, Carlos, or John said? We enjoy every filthy moment from the first to the last every week. We couldn't pay quick enough to have the Happy Hour podcast at our fingertips. Eventually, when we're too old to even have sex, we will still be laughing our asses off along with you guys. Keep it up, and thank you all for bringing some much-needed bull to this way too serious world. We've created a nation of little potty mouths.
I think
That's from Nina and Jerry, the Freaky Friday couple.
Yeah.
Who are now doing God knows what to our... They're doing their own filth to our filth cast.
That's good.
Pam in New Hampshire, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Pam.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm not happy with Chris either.
Right, who is?
And I love Chris. But you got a governor that doesn't believe in federal government.
Absolutely. Who's gallivanting around Europe.
Regulation. You've got a party that the border's a problem but won't fund it. The VA is a problem but refuses to fund it. Ebola's a problem but, nothing. And now that they need help, now they want the federal government. And all these people in Texas, they better look at their governor and the next one that they may get, because this is crazy. You've got a party that hates the government, that wants to run the government, that are in the government.
A party that's been screaming about czars won't confirm the Surgeon General and then is screaming, where's the Ebola czar? It's ridiculous.
I wanted to say one more thing, Stephanie, is that, and I put an ad in our paper here and it went viral in this state because I went to high school with Sarah Palin.
Oh, God.
But I'm telling you, she wasn't a cuckoo nut back then. And we left before she became governor. But when she was mayor, she was actually pretty cool. She did food drives to the poor at the mall. Would you see her doing that now? I mean, you get into politics and you go stupid. But I just want people to know out there that I'm on a medicine right now that I have to take so I don't get breast cancer. They pulled out 3-4 lumps.
Wow.
If the Republicans win, I go back to pre-existing condition. But everybody out there listening, you pay for their health care. You pay for their government-run health care.
Yep.
So do I die if my old party wins? I changed to independence so that they could not, what do they go, come in and swoop up a bunch of Democrat voters?
Mm-hmm.
I changed so that they wouldn't mess with, I'm a Democrat, but I had to go independent so that they wouldn't screw with my vote.
Yeah.
Scary. So, if the Republicans win, God bless everybody that hates the government, but they're going to need it if we don't get this under control, and they need to fund the CDC, and they need to get a Surgeon General.
Yep, exactly. That should be done yesterday, by the way.
Yes,
the Surgeon General.
Yeah, because they could serve as an Ebola czar.
Thank you. And honestly, it's like if people don't know, it's some ridiculous. It's the fear of the NRA basically that's stopping. And it's not like anything radical that the nominee even said. It was something that's common sense. Anyway, all right. Here is the Cleveland Airport director about the Frontier airline.
The Frontier Airlines aircraft has been decontaminated twice at a remote location on the airport. That plane has since Well, in about 30 minutes, that plane will be put back into service. There will be a scheduled flight to Denver using that aircraft.
But you'll still be on a Frontier Airlines flight. I'm just saying, they still have People's Airline. Remember that?
People Express? No, they went out in like 1982 or 3.
What was the other one? Spirit? Who are the other?
No, Spirit is still around, and they're the ones who, charge you for every teeny tiny little thing.
Right, the low cost, the no frills airlines.
Exactly.
Okay, Judge.
I think they even charge you for putting something in the overhead bin.
Okay, Judge Clay Jenkins. And by the way, the oxygen, you need to pay for that if that's necessary.
Yeah.
It's like a coin-operated thing.
Right.
The Dallas County guy, Judge Clay Jenkins.
At the hospital, we have a situation involving 77 people, 2 of which have tested positive for Ebola. We are preparing contingencies for more, and that is a very real possibility.
Yes, sadly. Roseanne DeMoro, National Nurses United.
We're deeply alarmed. We've been sounding the alarm. Our nurses are not protected. They're not prepared to handle Ebola or any other pandemics. And the protocols that should have been in place in Dallas were not in place.
Brenda in Oakland, real quick. You have 30 seconds. Go, Brenda.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi. Love your show.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This guy, Mr. Duncan, did reveal the fact that he had been traveling in Africa, and his nephew wrote an article today because the family released the records because the hospital is, of course, not talking. I'm an RN as well as a very concerned person about this virus because it can get bad very quickly. And when the director of the CDC said he hasn't seen this since AIDS, I was one of the first AIDS hospice nurses, and I was a young nurse. And the reason why those nurses are very young is because they throw them into the front lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Right back with Jackie Jackner. Rick Scott.
I am not one of your fans!
I saved that for Jackie. Who's the prettiest girl in the world, the prettiest dress ever?
Oh, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Little Florida girl, Jackie Schechter, could not wait to talk about Governor Scott cruising out over a
early.
So Charlie Crist, Governor Crist, who was they were about to have a debate, and there was a little fan.
Yeah.
That I guess Governor Crist had requested under the podium.
Well, yeah, because it gets hot on stage with the lights, and there's always the chance that you're gonna get some sort of
look sweaty.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So
we'll have a Nixon debate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You have a Nixon Kennedy debate moment where he looked all shady and sweaty.
And he turned out to be shady and sweaty.
There you go.
So, but anyway, so then Rick Scott had a tizzy fit backstage and would not come out.
I think 8 minutes.
Right. It was 8 minutes. The moderator had to stretch.
But the best part is they went back and said, why did you wait? And he's like, well, Charlie Crist wasn't ready. And we didn't know if he was gonna show. He was on stage. He was on stage.
Where could he be?
The 8 minutes that
he's waiting for you in front of the audience.
Yeah. And his argument was that you're not allowed to have any sort of electronics. I'm not sure that a fan. I mean, yes, it's plugged in.
That's an electric, but it's not an electronic.
I don't think you can do a Google search on it.
Like technically, right? Like technically, it's plugged in, so it uses electricity. But
yeah, an electronic that connotes a motherboard of some sort. Like just a calculator, that would be an electronic. But a fan is just an electric appliance.
Amazing. I mean, if you're that scared to get on stage and debate that you're arguing over a fan under the lectern, come on.
Yeah. And that gives him one more fan than Rick Scott has, apparently. But and yet, it's close, you're reading, right?
Oh, yes. We were looking up where the polls were, and it's neck and neck. They're tied. Wow. I mean, if you can't beat Rick Scott, come on. And
was this poll taken after the fan incident?
11 hours ago was the news right.
Okay.
So I don't know if they've now polled again after the debate. I haven't seen anything updated since last night.
It'd be interesting to see what
kind of difference it made.
Right.
But look, I mean, Florida voters at this point know exactly what they got in Rick Scott. There's a lot of buyer's remorse. And at the same time, because Charlie Crist switched parties and has aligned himself with the president, there's a lot of Florida voters that either don't trust him or don't like him because he's now a Democrat and he looks like he's too wishy-washy because he's changed parties and positions. So
to the bright side.
Yeah, I mean, but what I would
Right.
argue is that that's the lesser. If you're going to say I have to pick the lesser of two evils, and I wouldn't say Charlie Crist is evil, I would say Rick Scott is evil.
Right.
You got to go with Crist.
We had him on, and we were really impressed with him.
Charlie Crist,
Yeah,
yeah.
with Governor Crist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good politician, and he's done some good stuff for Florida, and Rick Scott is really the epitome of a bad guy if there's ever been one.
Yeah.
But
I
you know,
can't- I couldn't
Florida's
have-
Florida. I mean, that's why we say WTF Florida.
Right. And
I couldn't have Rick Scott on because his eyes freak me out.
well, and he, questionable business practices to say the least.
He can't answer a straight question.
Right.
He's got nothing
He can't
to offer.
blink.
No, and you know, last night Charlie Crist made a joke about this is the ultimate taking the fifth, and that was in reference when he didn't show up on stage, and that was in reference to the fact that there was a deposition in which Rick Scott was offered the opportunity to speak about. I think it was actually a civil matter, and he took the fifth 75 times.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even answer if he worked for where he worked. I mean, it was like there was no question that he would answer. So when you plead the fifth 75 times on something, I think you're maybe hiding.
Yeah.
That's-
And when Crist was governor, he was kind of a moderate Republican, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand.
Too moderate. He touched the black president.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he was not an extreme Republican by
Right.
any stretch.
Right.
But Florida's a wonky state. I mean, you've got...
You can say that again.
Yeah, I mean, you've got different demographics in different areas of the
Right.
state. You know, the Panhandle in the northern part of the state operates very much like the South.
The Deep South.
Right,
Yeah.
and then you've got the lower part of the state, Dade County, the southern part of the state, some of Broward, that operates a lot like liberal or more democratic New York.
Right.
And then you've got a lot of immigration, right? So you've got a lot of people who favor more democratic policies in that regard.
Right.
And then there's the conservative Cuban population, things like that, right? So
Right.
you've got a melting pot and a mix.
Yeah.
But you're certainly more open and more progressive down south
Yeah.
than you are in the northern part of the state.
And the middle part of the state is a swing part of the state.
I mean, parts of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It just really depends on
A
where
lot
you
of
are.
swingers, at least if you're looking at how much sex they're having at the villages.
The villages, which
Oh
is
my
in the
gosh.
public
Florida.
areas.
That's the living community.
Did you see the latest story?
No,
Yeah,
what's the latest one?
Oh, a guy and his girlfriend were caught having sex on the electrical box at the villages.
Yeah.
That's
like
one way to
a
get a
utility
charge.
box.
That's one way to get
Perhaps
a charge.
trying to put the spark back in their relationship. Jackie, yes. Let's talk Ebola, shall we?
Oh, absolutely. Why
Now, I was saying, I always do the, yes, I would like automatic flight status notifications and things like that. So I'm wondering, do you think Frontier Airlines, did they send texts? Or was it...
About what? Oh,
Or a
like
call?
letting you know that you flew on the airplane with a person
You
who
might have Ebola.
is now. Well, I mean,
And then you're like, oh, that damn Siri, did I say Ebola? That's not what I meant.
I wanted to go bowling. I wanted to go bowling. Where's
Yeah.
there a bowling alley nearby? No, I mean, look, we have to be very careful about this, and I think there are, like, Shepard Smith did a piece recently about being careful about what we're crying foul about here, or what we're crying wolf about, which is probably more appropriate. Because there will be something scary someday. There will be a mass epidemic of some sort that we really have to be careful about, and right now there's healthcare workers at risk, maybe because some protocol wasn't possibly followed. But as far as the general public's concerned, there isn't this great day-to-day risk of contracting Ebola, and I think we need to be careful about not overblowing this. It's dangerous to get people worked up over something, because when we actually need to be worked up over something, they may not pay attention.
We have learned that all we need is a magical clipboard to protect us. Did you see this story? Who is unprotected clipboard dude? Man without hazmat suit transfers Dallas Ebola patient onto CDC plane.
Yeah, this happened last night or yesterday.
And he's just like, hi, I have a clipboard.
He's surrounded by people in hazmat suits. The patient is in a hazmat suit, and he's just there with a clipboard, like handling canisters and trash bags and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Who is this?
He's wearing sunglasses, so he's not getting any UV rays, so that's good.
I don't know if he's from the CDC or from... I don't know.
He's
the
actually
airport?
a census taker.
Hi.
He's counting Ebola patients. Would you like to vote for Rick Scott?
But we need to find out who this guy is and quarantine him now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you if you're in proximity? I mean, that's the whole point, right? We're saying it's not airborne. And we're saying he's not in contact with any bodily fluids, is he?
You know what? He looks like maybe he's one of those VIP airport greeters. I had one of those for a minute when I had the late night TV show.
Would you like a vegetarian meal?
Yeah, make sure your bag comes out first, you know.
Which movie would you like to watch on your plane?
Sure.
Yeah. By the way, so we had Deborah Berger call in. Actually, another listener had alerted her to call in, but she's the head of National Nurses United. Here she is.
Were the protocols breached? the nurses say there were no protocols. Nurses had to interact with Mr. Duncan with whatever protective equipment was available at the time when he had copious amounts of diarrhea and vomiting, which produces a lot of contagious fluids.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's nothing like a little do-it-yourself
and kind of gross
outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, our healthcare system has a lot of problems, not the least of which, and I was listening on the way in, is cost-cutting measures that are in place. And a lot of times we cut corners. Our medical system will cut corners in order to make more money or save money. Yeah, and then we end up with not having enough protective gear around, not having the right protocols in place because they're expensive.
Right.
Having something on standby just in case can be expensive. And if you've got, you're trying to cut corners in some way, it seems like an obvious.
Yeah. And flying patients from hospitals to these Ebola centers, that takes money too.
Yeah, that's not going to be cheap either.
No.
Well, and the other thing is, we were talking about this earlier, Jack, his medical record indicate that the workers at this Dallas hospital treated Thomas Eric Duncan without hazardous material gear for 2 days until the tests confirmed his diagnosis.
Did they have all of the gear available?
I guess, but they're saying that delay could have potentially, exposed perhaps dozens of workers to the virus. He was suspected of having Ebola when he was admitted to the hospital isolation unit, and he developed projectile vomiting, explosive diarrhea later that day. But, until they... I wouldn't...
Explosive diarrhea.
I did
projectile vomiting, really?
That actually is an operation, a rejected operation.
Yes. Thank God they didn't include that on the game board.
Operation Explosive Diarrhea?
Yeah.
Is that what our
anti-ISIS? Early. Yeah.
No, it is, what is it called? Something Resolve.
Inherent Resolve.
Inherent Resolve.
Yeah.
Operation Inherent Resolve. See, that's a scarier. ISIS would be
scared
making
a list of ones that were rejected. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Operation Explosive Ebola Diarrhea.
No. Not effective.
Operation Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, no, actually, when also on the drive-in, I do some of my best listening in traffic on the drive-in.
Yes.
You had someone who called in who was talking about how he didn't get the antibodies or he didn't get the blood transfusion.
From Dr. Brantley.
Yeah. They said, I was watching this last night, they said that it just wasn't a blood match.
Yeah, I saw that
It
too.
has to be a blood type match.
Right.
So I don't think there's anything nefarious going on there.
There have been some racial conspiracies, but,
Yeah, but if you're not a blood type match, you're not a match. It'll kill you. As far as I understand, you can't do that. You can't transfuse blood if it's not a match, and they have to take the blood from the man who's generated the antibodies.
Right.
So if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a conspiracy at all.
Right, but then there was some confusion as to whether it was a blood transfusion or plasma because...
Well, they take it out of the blood.
Yeah.
Right. He's given, I think they said that he's given a gallon of blood at this point.
Oh, dear God. Dr. Brantley must... You know what, I would just put my...
I saw an interview with him last night and he was fine.
I turned my ringer off. Oh.
He didn't look pale. So...
Somebody gave him a cookie.
He is in some orange juice.
He is in a constant episode of Dr. Brantley, Vampire Slayers. Oh, they're calling again to suck my blood.
Yeah, but he developed the antibodies. I think it's anyone who has beaten Ebola that's developed the antibodies, and then they use that to go ahead and...
Well, it's kind of like, when you get the flu, you don't get that exact same flu again because you've developed the antibodies to it.
But you just get a different...
You get a different flu. There's a different flu every year.
Yeah. All right. 18 minutes after the hour, Nurse Jackie live in studio with us for the rest of the hour on the Stephanie Miller. Max is being hustled out of the room.
Yeah, by Tony.
It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 22 minutes after the hour. Jackie Schechner live in studio with us. All right, we have the clipboard guy. Clipboard guy has been explained.
Okay.
Clipboard guy without a hazmat suit on the at the Ebola flight, who we showed you a picture of.
Yep.
Everyone's in a hazmat suit. He's like, hi, how are you?
I have a clipboard.
I have a clipboard, so I'm important. I might have what now? Ebola? Oh, let me write that down on my clipboard.
No, apparently he...
What's the
not
story
in danger.
Pardon me?
Apparently he's not in danger.
Oh, okay. The man seen not wearing a hazmat suit while standing feet away from the second nurse with Ebola as she was transported to Emory Hospital did not need to wear the protective gear, the medical airline said. The nurse, identified as Amber Vinson, was flown from Dallas to Atlanta on a medical airline Phoenix Air. She was seen being transported by all the people in the fright hazmat suits. Blah, blah, blah. The airline confirmed to ABC News the man was their medical protocol supervisor who was purposely not wearing protective gear. Our medical professionals in the biohazard suits have limited vision and mobility, and it is the protocol supervisor's job to watch each person carefully and give them verbal directions to ensure no contact protocols are violated. There's absolutely no problem with this, and in fact ensures an even higher level of safety for all involved.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess because the other people were covered.
I guess they saw him handling some canisters and trash bags, though.
I think the real question is he single?
Yeah, I think that's the real question, because he's sharp. No, I mean, it does look hard to see and walk in those
I'm sure
suits.
it is.
You know, it's probably very, like, you know, you get like, oh, sorry. Yeah, that way.
Yeah, those suits,
so that guy's like, this way.
Those suits aren't as roomy as the ones in Outbreak.
Right.
Okay, but let me. Right. I mean, I don't mean to belittle this in any way, or I don't know what the word is.
Oh, we've been belittling it all.
No. But
please.
She's in a suit. Yep. They're in suit. I mean, short of a bubble. Like, I mean, I think we're good at that point, right? Like, you got enough people who are protected in protective gear. If he's not making out with her, like, he's far enough away, and we're saying it's not airborne.
Right, and you might miss a step or something and go down like a sack of potatoes or one of those, you know, because you just have like a little. Right?
I mean, it sounds.
They look like you're wearing an easy bake oven where there's only just this like
a tiny little bit of, like you're looking through the solitary confinement.
Right. So maybe he's the guy like with the flares on the thing. He's like this like on a.
Yeah. What if they were just all bumping into each other?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That would be weird.
By the way, it would look like a backstage farce.
And Jackie, by the way, you are correct. This is a serious public health threat, and you should not make light of it. We would never ever do such a thing. That is awful.
I met her in a hospital in Texas where they screw things up and you get exposed to Ebola. Ebola.
All right, I think we get the idea.
Ebola.
Yeah.
Let that be
Ebola.
It's good spelling.
Okay, Nancy in Dallas, you're on with Jackie. Ebola.
Hi, I'm 7 miles from the hospital where this happened. I drove up and down the streets where these people lived in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
The further people get from Dallas, the crazier they get on this subject. I fortunately watched Morning Joe this morning and watched them have an absolute meltdown about that this is going to be outbreak, there's going to be thousands of cases. Things haven't been handled well, but the people that are the most at risk are the nurses that worked on that guy the first few days. And unfortunately, Presbyterian, I had a very bad experience. If my brother hadn't interceded 23 years ago, I'd be dead because I got a post-surgical infection that the emergency room tried to turn me away and say, no, it's not that bad. My brother had to get private epidemiologists to take me back in the hospital.
What is the reputation of Presbyterian in the Dallas area?
It's up in an upper middle-class neighborhood.
Okay.
Well, my impression is, and I grew up in a medical family, like I said, my brothers are doctors. They're very arrogant. They have the same arrogance as the people who say we don't need to monitor chemical plants.
Okay.
Fertilizer.
They're very Texan.
Mentality.
What's the word? Texan.
Yeah.
Up in North Dallas, we're supreme, and they treat their staff like crap. They have a turnover that's unbelievable. I have a friend who's a visiting nurse. Well, she said one year, almost every person she was visiting at home for post-surgical care because of infections came from Presbyterian. I don't know who spits on their instruments in there.
Well, they're a private hospital. I mean, I think that Jackie could probably speak to that. I mean,
they're a private hospital, but they have a nonprofit status, and this is what chaps me. Those people don't pay a dime of the kind of taxes normal people have to pay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They sit up there, and they're notorious for dumping patients, which is what they did to that poor man with Ebola. That is their reputation in this city. And I actually had a stepdaughter she had her own problems, but she ended up in a Presbyterian facility, and she was really suffering from acute alcoholism, and all they could do was say, we want her out the door, we want her out the door. I had to get an attorney to intercede to have them keep her for a week till we could make sure she was mobile. Then we had to get her down here and put her in the county hospital.
Yeah.
Which is Parkland. They'd have been better off sending them to Parkland or even Baylor. I mean, the thing is that we have a lot of hospitals.
Yeah.
If I was in a serious accident, I swear I'm going to have it tattooed on my body anywhere but Presbyterian. Because of my experience, my son's 23. If I hadn't been treated, it was post-surgical after having him with a C-section. They were ready to kill me. The doctors, when they opened me up and cleaned the infection out, said I was within 24 hours of being.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Well, and, when you talk about treating the staff like crap, I mean, they were saying that these nurses were scared to say anything, unless that they get fired, that they didn't have the proper equipment or training. Right, Nancy?
But, yeah, when the doctor who was the surgeon, a gynecologist who delivered my baby, tried to come back in my room when I was in isolation after they found out about the infection. I was in an isolated room there where everybody came in those little spacesuits and stuff. And she tried to come in the room to visit me. I got on the phone and I called the charge nurse. And I said, I want her removed from my room. Yep. And the charge nurse, who's your advocate, she took her out of my room. I said, I want any doctor in the hospital but that one.
Wow. Okay. Right back. More Jackie Scheckner on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Risky. Every time you step into that machine, you invite the possibility of altering the world as we know it.
It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. Jackie Scheckner, journalist, healthcare expert extraordinaire. Pardon me?
Nancy was our last caller?
Yes, because I was trying to steer that to a discussion about private hospitals, because she was saying she's from the area and, has a bad reputation, this particular, hospital. Yeah. And clearly they made a bunch of errors. But I just was, going to ask your opinion about, because everybody, of course, has brought up, this would be a good reason for universal health care. Things like this.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple of different points she brought up. First of all, that people in the area are less concerned than people outside the area, and it reminded me of 9/11 when I was living in New York at the time, and people outside of New York in D.C. and Iowa were worried about a terrorist attack, and all I kept thinking, well, they're not coming for you.
All the douches out here in Hollywood were terrified. I'm like, they're not going to bomb Paramount, you douche.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the farther away you get from the area where this is happening, the more room there is for overreacting. But when she was talking about hospital care, I just had a conversation recently with a physician friend of mine. You're going to get good and bad doctors in any facility.
Yeah, and there's going to be human error.
Sure, but at the same time, people may be inclined to steer away from a county hospital or a big public hospital because they're afraid it's not as clean or it deals with too many uninsured or whatever your reasons are, your elitist reasons are for not wanting to go to a big public county hospital. But those are the hospitals that are trained to deal with the greatest emergencies. Right. And those are the hospitals where they handle really the most severe cases of everything. So if you're looking for really good medical care, a lot of times those are the places where you're going to find it. And they're not as concerned about cutting costs or really, keeping the amenities in place that are going to attract the wealthiest of the wealthiest, because they just want to get people cured and out the door. Right. And not in a kick you to the curb kind of way.
Right.
In a
they want to get you better.
They would like to get you healthy and send you on your way.
Right.
And Jackie, there's been a lot of speculation, that this Thomas Duncan was poor and black and didn't have insurance and
had an accent.
Right, it had an accent. But, the other thing we were talking about is, look, there hadn't, in terms of human error, there hadn't been a case of Ebola in the United States. How many millions of people present with flu symptoms, and somebody obviously neglected to ask, have you been
sure, and it's not fair.
Africa.
I mean, I don't know who there's obviously a triage nurse, there's obviously an emergency room staff. I don't think it's fair to assume that those people were being discriminatory in any way necessarily without interviewing them and knowing. I mean, it's a huge leap to take without having all of that information. Right. But at the same time, I do worry when we have a money-driven healthcare system, a profit-driven healthcare system, that the corners that we cut, like hazmat suits if we need them, or emergency protocol materials in case we need them, get cut because it seems like a waste of money at the time, then you end up in a dire situation. I mean, it's a risk to take, and if you're into gambling, go to Vegas. But I don't think we should gamble with our healthcare system.
Although, may I just stipulate that bitchy, rich white women do tend to get better service in hospitals.
Give my daughter the pain shot.
Please,
I don't see why she has to have this pain. It's time for her shot. You understand? Do something. All she has to do is hold on until 10. And it's past 10. She's in pain. My daughter is in pain. Give her the shot. You understand? We're going to give my daughter the shot.
Is that terms of endearment?
Yes, if you had Shirley MacLaine with you. Yeah. I'm just saying Thomas Duncan might have been
That actually brings up a really good point. I tell people this all the time. If you can, and I know this is difficult because people work and they're busy, but get a patient advocate with you in the hospital. If you're ever sick,
Get Shlomo McLean if you can.
Yeah, if you ever have a family member who's sick, like you need a patient advocate. Because
what is a patient advocate?
it is somebody, and I just use that term as a general umbrella term. It is somebody who is with you at all times to make sure that you're getting the attention and the care that you need. Now, I know not everybody has it, and that's a very easy thing to say and harder to do. But if you have a relative, a family member, I'm not saying hire somebody necessarily. I'm saying somebody that is.
I brought a bouncer, my friend Rob.
Yeah,
when I had the flu and pneumonia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He came because he's like 6'4".
Yeah, but how?
And he was saying, "Give my daughter the shot."
Right. I just had him just stare ominously, just in that kind of,
Yeah, but if you can, I mean, don't let your ego get in the way. Don't be brave. You need somebody to sit, because if you're medicated in some way, you may not be able to remember what the doctors and nurses are saying. And they are understaffed and overworked, and you're not necessarily always going to get the attention that you need and the things that you need at the time. I had a friend who had a collapsed lung, and I spent 2 weeks in the hospital with him, really just kind of staying on top of what he needed at any given time.
Right.
And
I should start a rent-a-rob service.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, if we had people for hire who were patient advocates who could sit, and I'm not talking about hounding the nurses. I'm not talking about making their job difficult, and I certainly don't want nurses and staff members to call in and say, "Oh my God, those people are so annoying." But I'm just saying somebody who can advocate for you and get you the attention that you need at the time. Because frankly, if you're sick, you may not be able. You can press that button all you want. But if the nurse is busy, she's not going to get to you.
I tried to take my mom to the emergency room. She hit her head at one point, and I was the version. I was actually probably of no help because I was hysterical. My mother was like, "Dear, please calm down. I'm fine." But I'm like, "My mother is whatever old. She hit her head," and I was just screaming. I was screaming like Shirley MacLaine, but I was.
My favorite emergency room story has to do with my mother. Is that when I was 16, I stepped out of the shower and slipped and fell on the tile and cracked my chin. Now to give you a visual, I was naked because I had stepped out of the shower. So my mother decided to dress me.
Turns this all around, yes.
To take me to the hospital. And besides putting on sweatpants and, sweatshirt and bunny slippers, at which point
in Florida,
in pain, I screamed at her, "Get me some real shoes." We get to the hospital. I'm sitting there with a towel up against my chin, and I go to the restroom, and I've discovered she's put everything on backward.
You're like, "You look like you're taking me to the psych ward." What am I?
I have everything on backwards because in this mad dash to get me out the door, she grabbed whatever she could and just threw it over my head. So now I'm a crazy person and I'm bleeding from my head.
I don't. Your outfit is never put together well.
I was obviously a popular high school kid.
I'm pretty sure I had pajamas on and I just went. But I mean, then you catch sight of yourself in a mirror. You're like, "Oh, Jesus, what the hell? Seriously? I left the house like that?" By the way, here's some. Ebola patient may have had symptoms on the Frontier flight from Cleveland to Dallas. Announced Wednesday night from Frontier Airlines CEO, who sent the following message to airline employees at 1:55 p.m. Wednesday. Frontier was notified by the CDC that the passenger may have been symptomatic earlier than initially suspected, including the possibility of possessing symptoms while on board the flight. That was the second flight. She didn't have the symptoms or the fever.
The one coming back.
Fever, right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, the fever thing seems strange to me because they're saying that the threshold was 100.4 and she was at 99.5.
Right.
I don't know that you can indicate. I mean, that's only slightly elevated. And how would you know?
Right. We had a nurse call earlier that said that's not
there's no
horribly high temperature.
Yeah. I mean, 90. I think you have a 99.
Walking, in the sun or something.
I don't know that that's enough of an indication. I mean, she's a nurse, so maybe she should have monitored herself a little more closely, but I know nurses that smoke, so
well,
what does that tell you?
How'd you like to be getting one of those calls from Frontier Airlines? And they're a no-frills airline, right? Mm-hmm. We're just saying we don't know. Maybe they offer, "Hey, here's the guy at Frontier Airlines. Were you on flight?
Was it automated?
Martin from..." I don't know. That'd be funny if it was.
It was automated.
Yeah.
Here's the good news.
You
have a voucher for free peanuts for your next flight on Frontier Airlines. The bad news is you might have fallen.
But fly with us again. Thanks for choosing Frontier Airlines. We know you have a choice in your flight card.
And boy, did you make up one this time. Oh, well. Sucks to be you. Okay. Heather in Wisconsin, you're on with Jackie. Hi, Heather.
Hi, I have a question about the ACA.
Okay.
My cousin has lived outside of the country for years, and he's currently in India right now, and he's very ill with stomach problems.
Ooh.
My aunt lives in Arizona and wants to get him home, but he has to get, medically stabilized first. She has called to sign him up for insurance through the ACA, and she was initially told she can't sign him up outside of the enrollment period because he has a pre-existing condition.
No.
Since then, I think she's been told, well, just wait till he gets back to the States. And she's wondering how soon she can sign him up.
I don't know. I think you have to be, this is actually a really good question. I don't know if you actually have to be in the country at the time that you sign up. He's an American citizen. I would imagine he can enroll at any time. But he has a life-changing event, so that would qualify him. She doesn't have to wait for open enrollment because he's moved. And that's like kind of a special case. There's things like if you lose your job or you move states or things like that. There should be no denials for pre-existing conditions, period.
Okay, but if he hasn't moved back yet, is it not a life-changing event yet?
Well, that's what I don't know. I don't know if you actually have to be a resident. He may have to prove that he's a resident of the state in order to qualify it would be very hard for somebody, I think, to prove they live in the U.S. to get U.S. health care if they're not actually living in the United States. So my guess would be there would have to be some proof of residency at some point in order to do that. I could be mistaken. I'd have to check. But my best guess, based on what I know, is that he'd have to somehow prove that he lives here in order to get access to health insurance.
By the by, this is also Ebola has given us another reason to be bigots here in America. Liberians living in the U.S. fear Ebola stigma.
Yeah.
One woman who grew up in Liberia hasn't been back in the country in nearly 2 years noticed people pulling away from her at the gym earlier this month. Yeah. She said, I wore a Liberia shirt in solidarity to the gym, and I got a wide berth from quite a few people. Had a tough time getting a spot that week.
Sure.
Go USA ignorance.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so sad.
Liberians in the Dallas area, where 2 people have been affected, have faced the taunt, go back to Liberia. Oh. That's nice. At least 2 Nigerian students currently living in Texas received letters from a college in the state rejecting them because of Ebola. Because they're saying we're not taking
It's not hereditary.
No.
It's not genetic. I mean, let's not be silly at this point. It's ridiculous. And
Jackie Shatner says, let's not be silly.
Let's not be silly. I would use a stronger word, but I'm afraid I might step over that line. So
okay, thank you.
Save that for the happy hour.
So Operation Je ne sais quoi continues against. I'm sorry.
Operation General Sense of Ennui.
Operation Meh.
It is. Operation Meh. It's Inherent Resolve is the name of the. You remember, it's not big and dumb and macho like the Bush administration ones were, which were Operation Commando Eagle. Remember, what was the other one? There was another one that was equally Operation Commando Eagle. Sunday.
And it's an eagle without underpants.
It's an eagle with no underpants. I like that we're having operations with Inherent Resolve. Anyway, it has continued.
It sounds like a therapy group.
I know. It sounds like like group therapy. It doesn't sound.
They decided not to go with feckless indifference.
Tuesday nights in the rec room.
Yeah.
Join us for Inherent Resolve.
And bring a hot dish to pass.
Anyway, U.S. has continued.
Refreshments will be served.
U.S. continues pounding
punch and cookies.
ISIS targets in Kobani, which I thought was a yogurt, but apparently it's not.
Chobani.
Oh, pardon me, that's different. This is
Chobani yogurt?
No.
Oh, this is
the town of Kobani. Pay attention.
Does it have fruit on the bottom?
Pardon me?
Pre-stirred.
You people are just not taking things seriously this morning.
I'm having a moment.
You must inherently resolve to do better. Jenny in what? Oh, should I take a break? Jenny in California, real quick. Hey, Jen.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about MRSA. Recently, when that became sort of a cause for a lot of deaths in hospital, they put everybody in hazmat suits. And are you still there?
Yeah. We're listening.
They put everybody in hazmat suits, and so they have some protocol for that. Why couldn't they have at least done that? I went to the hospital to visit my mom, and she had a nose swab that tested positive for that, but she didn't have it. It just tested positive, and we all had to suit up every time we walked in her room, and she was in a private room. So, come on.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that isolation gear in any hospital, right?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has a severe infection, you're not allowed to...
Yeah.
I watched House. I know how this works.
I just know if I pass out and I wake up and all y'all are wearing those suits, something bad happened.
Yep.
Something bad happened after this happy hour podcast.
Oh, boy.
We will find a way to get Chardonnay into your bubble. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Can't I just have a hole for a straw?
Yeah, well, we can get the Chardonnay into the bubble. It just can't, the empties can't come out. So you're going to fill up that bubble with Chardonnay bottles.
Right.
Empty Chardonnay bottles.
We could just use, as long as I don't break the seal. They're right outside there with you. Okay, 47 minutes after the hour. Back with Jackie Schechner on the Stephanie. Yeah. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. Jackie Schechner live in studio. Brian writes, here's a fun idea for the Happy Hour podcast. Steph, how about you wear your bra and panties over your regular clothes and really tart it up? Okay, Brian, there's a fine line between hot and crazy. And I don't look like Jackie Schechner going to the emergency room when she hurt her chin.
We had a tart off. Do people not remember? We had a tart off?
We used to have a tart off when we did the primetime election specials on Current TV.
That's right. I remember those.
It was who could be tartier. And you won, if I remember correctly.
I think I did.
You came up with a lace bra at one point.
But you were always in the leg shot,
I know.
because you sat at the end of the table. And
my leg,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I noticed that.
You little tart.
I know where my assets are.
But Jackie Schechner has just said yes to doing Happy Hour podcast. She's a little reticent because she has, class, something, whatever.
Whatever.
Maylee's doing it, and now, they're having a whore-off. They're having a journalist whore-off on the show. So, we keep tricking you into, both of you into showing up less and less.
Can we do it in here?
Yes. Hello. Hi, Linda and Boca.
Join the conversation.
Oh,
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Good. Hi.
I just wanted to tell you real quick. I just wanted to tell you real quick that I watched the debates last night.
Yes, the Charlie Crist debate.
Chris clearly was just shining above Rick Scott. He would never answer a question, but 3 questions that did come up, Charlie Crist was straight on with it. One was, are you for gay and lesbian marriages? He said yes. Everybody should be treated equal. The Affordable Care Act, yes. Everybody should have health care. It'll create 100,000 jobs. And my other one, my favorite one, was the environment. He's all about saving Florida's environment. Rick Scott could say nothing. He never even answered the questions, and he threw lies at Chris.
I think you're missing the point. There was a small fan that was scaring him.
Yes.
What was it?
All right. I'm sorry.
Well, now I'm just going to have to guess. I was going to say, what was the reaction down there in Florida to this? Because we saw the internet exploded. Right. But I was curious, what was going on down there in terms of the coffee talk in Boca.
I would love to see the polls if they're taken today.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little chat with my mom.
There you go.
The lovely and talented Mrs. Schechner, who I've dined with.
Yes. Her community down there.
See what her bridge club says.
By the way, speaking of debates, did you see the anything from the Mitch McConnell debate? We love this. That was really a neat trick, wasn't it? Where the Affordable Care Act is working so well, and he said, "Well, I think the website's fine, but I think Obamacare would be pulled out root and branch."
But if you pull out Obamacare root and branch, you also pull out that really neat website.
Right. It's not just a website. It made no sense at all.
There's something fascinating going on right now. I'm trying to do a little video about Prop 45. I'm going to see if I can get that up later today.
And that is
where would that be?
That on my website?
Yes.
Oh, JackieSchechner.com. But Proposition 45 is the ballot measure that people in California can vote on November 4th, and it would give the state insurance commissioner the power to reject health insurance premium increases if he thinks that they're too high.
I'm afraid about that passage, though, because those ads they're running, they're constant and they're effective.
Yeah, well, it's because the insurance companies have $37 million to spend. The opposition has close to $6 million.
Yeah.
So, and the opposition, by the way, is consumer advocates. So the insurance companies are spending $37 million of their own money to get you to vote no.
Right.
I've heard this before. It's like, when did the insurance companies ever spend millions of dollars on something to help you?
Right. Yeah.
So there's a reason they don't want this to pass. And I'll do a little video later. I worked on it yesterday, but I think I want to get it down a little shorter so people actually watch it. And I'll put it up on my website. But
I'm sorry, what did you say? I had my attention span wasn't.
Yeah,
see what I did there. Okay,
exactly what I worry about.
Yes.
But I was going somewhere with this. It did have a point before we started.
The Mitch McConnell debate.
These effective ads that you're seeing. It's like the couple in the hardware store talking about how there's an independent commission that's bargaining, and you don't want to take power away from them. I love that Republicans and insurance companies are calling it an independent commission when it really is covered California, which is the state-based exchange, which does have some negotiating bargaining power, but they hate it because it's the Affordable Care Act, state-based exchange. So they don't like it when it's Obamacare, and I use that in quotes for those of you who can't see me doing the air quotes because I hate that term. But they hate the Affordable Care Act, and they hate everything that it's set up, and they want to repeal it entirely. But now this is an independent commission that they want to back. So when they talk about this independent commission, keep in mind they're talking about the Affordable Care Act that they supposedly want to get away with.
Yep.
Do away with. Not get away with. Do away with.
You know what would have made everything better?
Yes.
If it were Romney Care. And Did you see Ann Romney piped up again?
Oh, God.
She said Russia would not have invaded Ukraine had her husband Mitt been elected. Really?
Oh, my God.
I do not believe there would have been an invasion, of course, in Ukraine. I believe Putin would have known there would have been consequences to that. Because she would have said, stop it. Stop it. This is hard.
Stop it. This is hard.
Really?
You want to try it? Get in the ring.
Yeah, if there were a guy named Mitt
Yeah.
in the Oval Office, he would have, I'm scared.
Also, Amanda Bynes wouldn't have gone crazy again if Mitt were president.
Yeah, exactly.
Did she say that too, or are you
No,
just adding
I'm
that
just
in?
adding that in.
Nothing bad would ever
because
have happened.
really nothing at this point she said would surprise me.
Exactly.
Right, there would have been no Ebola.
Right. If
you
Mitt had
voted
been
for
president.
Yeah, right, because Mitt cures everything.
Exactly.
In fact, Mitt should cure Ebola. I think
why doesn't he?
The vaccine is Mitt.
Yes, he's the magic.
Operation Mitt.
Yes.
All right. Where can we follow you to find out that fascinating video and other things we were
JackieSchechner.com, and I am on Twitter at Jackie Schechner. That's my
Jackie
funny,
with an I?
Yeah, Jackie with an I. That's my funny stuff. I think I do my best work on Twitter.
Yes, you're awesome on Twitter.
When we write you, can we make the I with a heart?
You can. Oh, I always used to make the I with a heart.
And sorority.